Hey guys, do you like to see me uncomfortable? Well, I'm uncomfortable with this because it's outside my wheelhouse. You know, I've been doing for a long time mostly German World War II pistols, and people all say, can't you talk about Colts or American weapons? I can, but I'm a novice. So today I'm just going to do a primer on military Colts, classic military Colts, and the primer is just because I'm going to give you a broad brush. And then in the comments section, some of you can fill in some of the details because I really don't know that much about it, but I do know just enough to get myself in trouble in buying some of these classic Colts. Come check them out. Okay, when I talk about classic military Colts in particular, there's all kinds of Colts, obvious. There's so many different models, and these are not all the military ones, but the classic military Colts that I think of are the single action armies, and I've got some here that I want to talk about because they're, there's a lot to learn here. And then, of course, World War I and World War II, you have your classic 1911 and the 1911A1. So let's start with some of these classic single action armies. And again, there's their artillery model, there's other models, there's of course the Dragoon and different military models, but I'm going to just focus on these military single action armies and what to kind of look for. This is the single action army, which I think is a classic. This is a cavalry. Cavalry is something different. Cavalry is the soldiers who rode on horses. And so this was the American Indian Wars and late 1800s, early 1900s. So the military, the cavalry, used these in the after the Civil War, basically, up until like the Spanish-American War. And then by World War I, they certainly had transitioned over to the semi-automatic weapons. You see it has an extended barrel compared to the artillery model. Here's a picture of the artillery model. We sell a good deal of these. These have all been reworked. But with these single-action armies, you should see all matching numbers. With the artillery model, you won't. And one of the things you want to look for is the inspector proof, because when you read the books, you'll see the rarity is really found in the different inspectors, because this is Henry Nettleton, and he was early on, didn't have that many, so this is a very desirable inspection proof because it's an early gun. Also, most of these don't have very much finish at all. In fact, some people call them gray guns because they typically look like this. Now, they will have this US marking. You see the US marking here. I already mentioned you look for the serial numbers. They'll be matching here, here, and here. And then there's also one marking on the cylinder, the last 4 digits on the cylinder here. You always want to check the action because often the action is messed up, meaning it doesn't forward properly. There's also, they talk about 4 clicks. It's sometimes hard to hear, but let's see if we can get it. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 clicks. Don't ask me why, but that's what you're looking for. That means that the timing is good. They often have to be repaired because they're very finicky. But then you also see there's a cartouche down here. That's somebody's initials with a circle around it. Then there's a date, and this one says 1878. We believe that has been restamped to make it, it was probably very faded and somebody restamped it because that's too clear and that's too faded. It should look more like this. Here's another one. Here's another one, and on this one, the cartouche and the date is completely faded. It's pretty worn. This one has a little more wear, but it is US marked. It does have matching numbers here, here, here. And the initial on this one is A for Ainsworth, so that's another inspector. Actually, this is even earlier. The Ainsworth gun is a little bit earlier and therefore a little bit more expensive. You can see the serial number is 4-digit, whereas this one is a 5-digit number. So again, this is just a primer. I'm just telling you a little bit of what I know. These both come in .45 caliber. So these were classic military guns, and you can get a ballpark idea of the cost. When you look at that, for an all original, all matching, of course they go up. If these are in beautiful condition, in fact, if they start to look like this, and this has been refinished, and I'm going to talk about that a little bit, that could easily double or triple. The price of one of these in a condition, they wouldn't be in this condition because this is brand new. If you can see them with bluing remaining on the cylinder, on the barrel, and then case hardening on the frame, if you see that, it can double or triple the price. Now, what I want to talk about is this is a restoration. Dave Lanera, I'm told, did the restorations on these. I don't know that for sure, but that's what whoever sold them to us said, that these are Dave Lanera restorations. This is a commercial one, comes in 4440, which is a slightly different cartridge. If you look here, 45 caliber, 4440. I think it's obsolete ammo at this point, but they're both restored by the same person. And you see on the restoration, he does the case hardening, he does the re-blue. Here you can see he does the Colt etching on the side, which was a factory option on the commercial guns. These are all matching. This one is a 5-digit serial number. This is also a 5-digit serial number. You would not see a U.S. marking, and you would not see an initial because it would not have a military inspection. This one should have a military inspection, and I don't see it. Now they do have the date here, which is 1880, and a very hard to see cartouche right here. This side you do see the cartouche and no date, and that is correct. So the reason I want to point this out is these look really nice, and some collectors are happy with these, but these are in the $6,000 range. So I can get an original one. Well, this one might be in like the 7,500 range. If it was better, I already mentioned a double or triple that. So when people say, should I get this restored? It's really a matter of personal taste. A lot of people, and I did this poll when I had a PPK, and I said, should I restore it? Should I replace it? What should I do? A lot of people say leave it alone, and a lot of people like the restoration. This sure gets a lot of gasps when you invite guests over because they don't know the difference. They say this and they go, they gasp and think it's absolutely gorgeous, and it is. But there's not a big difference between 75 and 6,000. But when you come to German weapons, which I know a lot better, if you like and subscribe to my channel, you'll see I do mostly German weapons. If you take a Luger that is in okay condition and you restore it, you cut the price in half. Here, you didn't come anywhere near cutting this in half. So there are people who really would like to take this and restore it so it looks like that. No judgment. These will both sell fairly easily, but there's not a big difference in price. There are famous restorers like Turnbull Restorations. They charge a lot of money for the work that they do, and you many times can wait months to get the work done. So that's just a primer, what to look for. The matching numbers, the inspection mark, how early is it? Make sure you have a U.S. marking. Are the cartouches visible? All of those factors go into how much do I charge for this. Now, let me tell you a story about this gun. This is not military, but it came in. Not something that I know about other than it's a Colt pocket pistol. I have not seen it with the ivory grips before, though. So that usually indicates some kind of a presentation gun. Now, every gun I've ever seen with ivory grips was also engraved. This one has the cylinder etching on it, cylinder scene. I don't know how much you can see on the cylinder. I'm going to move this a little bit. Here's a cylinder scene here, kind of minor etching. That's on all of them, but it's mostly worn off, and this was never engraved. So I'm not sure that these are original. If they are, they probably were some kind of a presentation. And the more I looked at it, the more I saw, something going on here. So here's a mystery to be solved. There's a little paper plug. Let's pull that out. We're going to pull this little piece of paper out. And by the way, the person that sold it to us never mentioned that there's a piece of paper because it was pretty far down inside there. The only reason I checked is we were checking the bore. And by the way, I mentioned action before. You want to test the action, make sure it rotates and moves the cylinder forward, and it does. It does have 4 clicks, by the way. And these ivory grips, I could be wrong. Again, primer, newcomer to this. I think these grips alone could be $1,000. So somebody looking for the grips, even if they didn't come with this gun, it's very valuable. And as I said before, the only reason I have my doubts is because I've never seen ivory grips that was not on a gun that wasn't engraved. Now, speaking of engraving, there is a mark here. There's a name. And it looks like fleece or flice. There is a serial number here, here, here and here. These are all matching. So it's a pocket pistol, police pocket pistol. Has somebody's name here. Very hard to see because somebody also used this as a hammer. And when I opened this up, this was the drum roll excitement. It says John Fleece, ADJ, which I guess is Adjutant General's Office. So maybe a gift from his men to the Adjutant General. I don't know. I'm going to show that to you a little bit. John Fleece, because somebody out there, I did Google it and tried to research it and looked up Adjutant Generals throughout history. Could not find anything on this. It would have to be U.S., probably Civil War era, post-Civil War era. I believe these are usually 31 caliber. And again, the marking would be right here. So a little bit of a mystery, and the only reason I share this with you is because somebody out there might have some information to share, and you can put it in the comment section or write to me personally. So I wanted to show you that. One more thing that is very unusual, there are companies such as the United States Firearms Manufacturing Company, USFA, United States Firearms, right here, USFA. They are licensed by Colt to make replicas, and they do make some beautiful replicas of the 1911, as well as single action armies. This is one we got in. This is the original box. This is a modern, so they're licensed to remake these. So this is modern production, but it's exactly like was sold by Colt. In fact, the date on this is 1997. So this box from 1997, it's got the, that's the original label. And when we look at the gun itself, it actually is a cutaway, which are very popular. When you look at this, you can see that it is a cutaway, and these are popular with some collectors. Like I know people who love cutaways, and they try to get cutaways of the Luger, the 1911. This is a Colt cutaway. And you get an idea. It's pretty specific as to who might want this, but that's a ballpark. And again, it's licensed by Colt to be made by the USFA Manufacturing Company. Here you can see actually the rifling here cut into the barrel. You can't shoot this gun, or if you did, it would be really stupid because the gases would escape here, they would escape here. You'd probably get injured. So you don't want to try to shoot this. You see it's cut away here and here. So that when you cock it, and you do get 4 clicks, I got 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 clicks, good. So here you can see the action. I'll just do it a few times. Here's the mainspring down here. Here is one of the large springs down here. So yeah, you see as the hammer comes down, it pushes a spring that pulls the trigger back. So you could study this for a very, very long time. And don't try to shoot it. 45 caliber Colt. Again, cutaway, a rare item, and the serial number is S4. So who knows, they may have only made 10 of these. S4, I'm thinking is salesman sample. So they do sell these to retailers. They put them on display. So if somebody wants to buy the gun, it's just a novelty to be able to see the action. And you can see here on the cylinder that it's cut right here. So you could load it up and actually watch the rounds come through. So this is a cutaway. I thought I'd show it to you just because it's a novelty. Okay, now for another primer course, but this time on military 1911 Colts, actually 1911s and 1911 A1s, World War I, World War II. This one is actually not military, but I threw it in to show you distinct finishes. This is very early, about 1912. It's actually commercial, has a C in the beginning, and you see it's a 4-digit, so probably first year of production. And you'll notice that the slide, the date on the slide only goes up to 1911, and a little bit later they add a 1913, because they made improvements. It's a little hard to see, but right there it says 1913. So this is the early slide, and you want to see an early slide with an early gun because it just tells me that this and this match, plus the color is the same. You see the fire blue here, nice and bright, beautiful high polish finish. They only did that early on. And even some of the military guns are this bright. But typically, World War I era, you're going to see more like this. It has the inspector stamp. Commercial would not have that. It has the Stallion logo. Commercial model does have that. But the finish is not quite as high polished. So this is a military gun, this is a commercial gun, but I can tell right away this is World War I era because I see the distinct diamond wooden grips. You see the diamonds, the wooden grips, and by and large, there's a lot of exceptions. But again, this is just a primer course. I'm not going to dig into the weeds. The more I get into the weeds, the more complicated it gets, and the more expensive the gun gets. So generally, you're just looking at finish, blued finish, versus this World War II Parkerized finish with plastic grips. Let's just do this side by side. You can see the difference right away. Parkerized, blued finish, plastic, brown grip, and then the wooden grip with the diamonds on it. Also with the magazines, you can see that this is dual tone, whereas World War II, you have the solid blue. There's reasons for that, but that's not part of the primer course. Now, whenever I'm looking at this, remember when we looked at the single action armies, we looked for the inspector stamp to say it went to the military. Right here, we see the inspector stamp, but we also need to see an inspector stamp on the slide. And often you'll see it right back here. You see that H. That is an inspector stamp for an early slide. So these seem like they go together, but the slide is not numbered. We will look at some numbered slides, but these are not numbered. So people do sometimes switch these. And so you have to watch out that they look like they've been together for a very long time. Also, the barrels will be proof marked. This one is HP marked, and it's a separated HP. There's some variations that will have a connected HP, but they should be an HP barrel. Often the barrels have been replaced, and that hurts the value a little bit. The way to get the details, I'm not covering this in this video because I can't possibly go into all of the variations, but a book like this is just a good bullet point review of the different markings. Here you see a Springfield barrel. There's a Remington barrel. There'll be an HS marked barrel. Flannery barrel will be marked F. Here's the high standard HS. But then, and then you see the different. There's one with the keyhole. You see the different kind of magazines. But when you get to the guns themselves, you can see that they'll go over. This is who made it. This is the serial range, and these are the features you should see. This is the kind of barrel marking. And so on the Colts, the World War II Colts, you should see Colt 45 Auto. Colt 45 Auto on the barrel. And the only way to find that out is you have to be able to take the gun apart. And most times when you're at a gun show or if you buy from somebody like Legacy, we do that for you before we ship it out. But if I'm at somebody's table, I always say, do you mind if I take a look at the barrel? And there are other videos that talk about disassembly, but you push this in, pop that on, slide that. I'm not going into that, but you take that off, and when you look inside, you will see that marking Colt 45 Auto on the barrel itself. And that tells me it's an original World War II barrel. You have to check that because often they are swapped. You also want to make sure the magazine is World War II, which typically they're not marked on the bottom. If they're marked on the bottom, then that's usually a post-war. This is fine because this is a CS. When I say marked on the bottom, it doesn't say Colt 45 or anything like that. That would be post-war. Here you do see a marking here, but most times it is under here, and it'll be an R, an S, or an L. So that's a World War II magazine. Now, so you've looked at condition, you've looked at the finish, you've checked the barrel, you want to make sure the magazine is right, the grips are right. Most times they do not have a numbered slide, so you have to make sure like the color matches on this, they're proof marked, and it looks right. But this is a 1942. So actually from like 38, 39, all the way to 42, they did number the barrels. And so you want to check that. This one would not be numbered. This one is numbered. And the way that I do that quick and easy is put the magazine so the slide stays back. I pull the slide back. And I see that little pin, that's the firing pin. But you can use a ballpoint pen at a gun show. I'll use a ballpoint pen. Push this in, and this little guard here slides down, and I can see 935. And right here, 935 is the first 3 digits, 935, 935. If I push that all the way down, it says 935 at the top, and then underneath it, it'll have the last 3 digits. So the first 3, last 3, that's where it's numbered on the back, and I can check that pretty easily without taking the whole gun apart. I just do that. Now again, all of the World War I and between the wars, they're not going to be numbered. Just the early World War II up until 1942, maybe a few in early 43. Those are the only ones where you have a numbered slide. So you want to make sure they're matching. You want to make sure you have the right grips. You want to make sure you have the right magazine, and you want to check the barrel. That's the primer course of how to know I've gotten a good gun. And again, you want to go through a book and make sure you know what you're buying, because your investment on an all correct World War II Parkerized gun is going to be 35 to 45. On some of these earlier ones, high polish, and there are some high polish World War II, by the way. World War II high polish, such as the CSR proofed guns, those can easily be 10,000 and up. And for something like this, we're probably talking close to 10,000. Well, we're probably talking $8,000, $9,000 for an early high polish. And then something like this, very early, first year production, we could be approaching $20,000. So it's a big investment. You need to know what you're doing, but that's pretty much an overview of how to evaluate one of these beautiful, classic military 1911 Colts. As I said from the beginning, this is just a primer, some real basic information. If you're going to buy some of these high-end, expensive Colts, you need to at least buy a book and hopefully have somebody who knows more than I do to ask them more questions about what to look for on these beauties. Make sure you like and subscribe to our channel, because we have a lot of good stuff coming your way.